We've got our supplies for this little hoop, our thread, our design, our needles, and our needle threader. If you use your own floss, you always want to pull from the number end, and you want to measure a piece that's a little past your elbow. We're going to make a knot in one end, so wrap your thread around your finger, makes a little X like this, and with your first finger and your thumb, you're going to roll it to the end till it rolls off your finger. Keep pinching it though. Take your middle finger then, press down on top of that twist, and pull with your other hand, and it will create a knot. Now, if that seems too tricky, you can also do it like this. You just make a little loop, and then we're going to take this little end in my left hand and tuck it down through the loop and pull it out the other side, tighten it up, and that will also make a knot. So either way, whichever one works for you. Now we're going to put our needle on the opposite end of the thread. So you're going to take your needle threader and your needle and place the needle threader through the eye of the needle so it's hanging on there. Then place the thread down through the needle threader loop and then pull the needle off gently. And then if you keep pulling your needle threader, it will come out and the thread will be on your needle. So you'll have this little tail here that just hangs loose, and it will shorten as we go. This is the little tail, and then our knot is at the other end. Now take your hoop, and I'm going to teach you the back stitch. I like to slide my first finger along the edge of the needle, pinching it with my thumb and my middle finger, and I use my first finger as a guide. So it kind of guides my finger where it needs to go. So once you find the bottom of this first row, we're going to come up at the bottom of it until we get to the end of our knot. Then place your needle back down into the first white dot and pull to tighten it up. Now we're going to skip ahead, skip one stitch length, and come up at the next dot, just like this. And we're going to go back down into the last hole. And this is why it's called a back stitch, because we're always going to skip a stitch length and then go back into the previous hole. Because if you came up in the same hole as the one you just went down in, your thread would pop right back out. The thread will shorten as you go. Now I pinch it between my thumb and my middle finger like this. I pinch the eye of the needle and use my pointer finger against the point of the needle as my guide. And if you pinch the bottom here at the eye, it will keep the tail from pulling out of your needle. So we just continue like this. Skip a stitch length, then go back down. We skip and then go back down in our last hole. And we just repeat that the whole way around until you get to the end. Now I'm going to speed it up a little bit here for you, and you can take your time with this. It's not meant to be fast. It's fast here on the video, but it's meant to be slow and relaxing, so take your time. And then when you get to the point that you are running out of thread, like I did here, I'm going to flip it over and show you. I only have a little bit of thread left, and so here's how you end it. You're going to slide your needle under a couple of stitches that you're right next to. And then once you have this little loop, be very careful not to pull the tail out. You're going to put your needle through this little loop 2 times, and that will make a knot once you pull it tight. So loop it through 2 times, pull, and tighten it up, and that will create a knot so your stitches don't come out. Then snip it off, and we're going to get another piece of thread and start over to get to the end. So we get the size that we need. Put our needle threader through the needle, our thread through the needle threader, and then gently pull your needle off and pull your needle threader out. we'll slide our needle up so we just have a shorter tail. And then our knot, again, I crisscross, roll it, keep pinching, and then with my middle finger, I pinch hard and pull. And then you just go right back to stitching until you get to the end, and then tie it off again, just like we did a minute ago. Now I'm using a stand here only because it helps me keep it steady when I'm filming. But usually when it's just me, I just hold the hoop in my hand. So I loop this under a nearby stitch, go through your loop 2 times, make sure your tail doesn't get caught in there, and then snip it off. Now taking the darker blue color, or you can use another color if you want, I'm doing the same thing for the letters. So you make a stitch, I've got a knot in the end, skip, and then go back down in the previous hole, skip again, and then go back down in the previous hole, and same thing around the curves. So we just pick a spot to start and just keep going. Now you'll see that I made the little stitches, the stitch marks, really small around the curves. And that's important. Anytime we have a curvy line like this, we need to do small little stitches. So these are going to be much smaller than other stitches that you've done, much shorter, because that gives us a nice curve. If the lines or the stitches are too long, it'll just look like an oddly shaped letter. So we'll speed it up here a bit. And you're just going to move from one letter to the next. So when I finish in this corner, I'm going to move over to my R. You just want to move to the closest spot that you can get to with that thread. After this letter, I had to stop, tie it off, and get a new thread. So you do that anytime your thread starts to get a little bit short. Get to the end of our E and tie that off in the back, and then I'm taking yellow here. If you feel like your strands get kind of mixed up and one's longer than another, just slide your needle underneath, give it a little wiggle, and then pull it back down, and it will even out all your threads. And then if this happens to you, or you get stuck, it's usually just because it pulled down too fast and got tangled. So just lift up gently. Sometimes this happens on the back too. Just pull it gently, it'll untwist, and then it'll go right through. After this one, we tie it off in the back again, just like we did with the pink and all the other ones. And there we are. Doesn't that look so great? You can leave it and hang it like that, or you can take the tape that I put in, and you're going to put the sticky side down against the hoop, kind of push it down along the inside edge of the hoop the whole way around. And we're going to have to do this twice with 2 different pieces of tape because I have 2 layers of fabric. This is just going to stick to the first layer. And find a place where you can separate the tape from the backing, and you're going to pull the white backing off. The tape is really thin and clear. You might be able to stick one edge to your finger and hold it there while you pull off the back. Or you can ask an adult for help. Pull off that, and then we're going to fold our first layer of fabric down. I use 2 layers of fabric so that you can't see the stitches through the fabric. We just press down like this. Where it's folded, I lift it up a little bit like this and then press straight down. So each little fold, pull it up, press it down, pull it up, press it down. And 2 layers of fabric also helps to make it easier to stitch through. It's not see-through, and it just is a lot easier to work with. Your fabric doesn't get all stretched out. This little fold here, I straightened it out a bit and pressed that down. And now we're going to take our second piece of tape, You can separate it a little bit first if that's more helpful. And we're just going to stick it right down on top of our first layer of fabric, going the whole way around, sticking it, and then pull off the backing and start folding down again. So wherever you have one of those little crease corners, just pull it up and then push it down. Here at the end, we want to make a nice straight last piece and crease. So I push straight down. It's all stuck down now, and now you can't see the edges. I hope this was lots of fun for you. Let me know if you have questions.